Make sure you go to ashkicking.com and cop the new special edition DBN Senate candle for the Andre Ward vs. Sergey Kovalev rematch.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Now, just in case any of you guys get confused with these pictures you're looking at right here, these are pictures of both injuries that Kell Brook sustained against Golovkin and Errol Spence. The right eye that was done by Golovkin and the left eye that was done by the southpaw, Errol Spence. With that all being said, Kell Brook, he did a little bit of a comparison when it comes to who's more of the devastating puncher. And he said, no doubt, or I won't say no doubt, I threw that in there, but he said that Golovkin is the most devastating puncher out of the two, according to his trainer, Dominic Ingle, who basically relayed the message. So while Dominic Ingle said this is what Kell Brook told him, he also said you have to consider the fact, though, that Golovkin, he fights 2 divisions above an Errol Spence, or even a Kell Brook. Which, when I read this headline, that was the first thing that I thought to myself. Of course, he should be the most devastating puncher if he's 2 divisions above Errol Spence. I mean, that's almost like me telling you that Deontay Wilder is a far more devastating puncher than a Sergey Kovalev or some cruiserweight, right? Something else that I thought about that Dominic Ingle actually touched on is he said that Errol Spence wasn't landing a lot of clean punches in that fight, at least not into the second half. Now, Ingle didn't say that, but he just said he wasn't landing as many clean shots. When it comes to Golovkin, his best round was probably the first round and the last round. Golovkin, he actually hurt Kell Brook real bad in the first round. He staggered him, and then he closed the show, I think, in the 5th round. But in the Errol Spence fight, because Kell Brook was so successful at tying up Errol Spence and offsetting Errol Spence's jab with Kell Brook's own jab, it took a little longer for Errol Spence to basically start to close the show, start to walk him down and start to land big bombs, which he started to do in the second half of the fight. But the interesting thing is, soon as Errol Spence started to land flush shots, that was the beginning of the end. So it wasn't like Errol Spence was just landing bombs for 8-9 rounds and then finally Kell Brook couldn't take it anymore. No, Errol Spence didn't start landing bombs to around the 7th, 8th round. And as soon as he did, that's when he knocked down Kell Brook. And then, of course, in the 11th round, that's when he forced Kell Brook to submit and wave the white flag. So, you know what, since Kell Brook did make a comparison to Errol Spence and Gennady Golovkin, I think all of us would agree, at least 95% of us would agree, regardless if you're the biggest Golovkin fan or the biggest Errol Spence fan. I think the majority of boxing fans will agree and admit that if Errol Spence and Gennady Golovkin were naturally the same weight in the exact same division, fans would favor Errol Spence to win that fight if Golovkin and Errol Spence were to face off. With that being said, this is very unfortunate for Kell Brook. I had already said that is a hell of an assignment to have to fight Golovkin and then turn back around and fight Errol Spence after that. And the fact that both fighters broke this man's eye socket, it proved that that was one of the toughest assignments that any fighter can have. So that's pretty much what it is. I know there's a lot of boxing fans right now that are saying, thank God my favorite fighter is not in Errol Spence's division. So that's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.